Good afternoon. We are conducting a hearing on the record in the matter of case number 9056 and 9064 relating to standard offer service and bill impacts relating to SOS bids made in October of 2018. Mr. Hoppick or Mr. Spivak, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, Lloyd Spivak for the Commission staff. Presenting staff's testimony and reports this afternoon are Jim Letzelter of Liberty Consulting and David Hoppick of the Electricity Division. I guess we'll call Mr. Letzelter first.
Ah, you're there.
Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly affirm under the penalty of perjury the statements made in this matter today are the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Do.
State your full name.
James C. Letzelter.
Spell your last name.
Letzelter.
Give me your business address, please.
The Liberty Consulting Group. It's 1451 Quentin Road, Suite 400 in Lebanon, Pennsylvania, 17042.
Thank you very much. You're welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Letzelter.
Good afternoon.
Do you have in front of you a document entitled Direct Testimony of Dr. James Letzelter on behalf of the Liberty Consulting Group, or from the Liberty Consulting Group on behalf of the staff of the Public Service Commission of Maryland, dated with today's date?
Yes.
Okay. Did you prepare this document, or was it prepared under your direct supervision?
Yes.
Does it consist of 12 pages of question and answer testimony?
Yes.
Do you have any additions, deletions, or corrections you would like to make at this time?
I have one correction I would like to make. On page 8, the second or middle of 3 tables, the right column of the 2 columns, all of the items that begin with the words 2 blocks, the number 2, then blocks, should be shifted down 1 row. The final item that says 2 blocks should be deleted. Everything else should be shifted down. And in what would then be a blank space, the term should say 3-month, 12/1/18 to 2/28/19. That's the only change.
Thank you. And with that change, if the questions were asked of you today as they are asked in this document, would your answers be the same?
Yes.
Do you adopt this document as part of your sworn testimony in this proceeding?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, staff requests that Dr. Letzelter's testimony be marked as Staff Exhibit Number 1, and further moves that it be admitted into the evidentiary record.
Mr. Letzelter's testimony is so marked and moved into evidence.
Dr. Letzelter, can you give us a brief summary of the testimony, please?
Yes. I am an energy consultant with the Liberty Consulting Group, and I serve as the technical monitor overseeing supply procurement for the 4 investor-owned electric utilities in Maryland. I'm also responsible for calculating the price anomaly threshold values. The most important part of the testimony that I submitted is that I recommend that the Commission accept the results for the most recent procurement, which was held this past Monday, October 22nd, 2018. And there are 4 primary reasons for this recommendation. First, the averages of the winning bid prices for each block type were below their respective price anomaly thresholds. Second, the bid prices were consistent with prevailing market conditions. Third, the process was performed fairly and consistently with the RFP. And fourth, there was sufficient competition from suppliers. Overall, there were 10 bidders in this tranche, the same number as last year's Tranche 1 procurement, indicating a healthy level of competition. There were 5 separate block winners in this tranche, indicating adequate supplier diversity. Overall, there was a 4.2 to 1 ratio of megawatts bid to megawatts needed, which is in line with the Tranche 1 averages for the last 4 years. Based on these findings, I recommend that the Commission accept the results of this Tranche 1 procurement. And this concludes the summary of my testimony.
The witness is available for cross-examination.
Thank you. Do commissioners have questions of the witness? Mr. Hoppeck, do you have any questions of the witness? No. The witness is excused.
Thank you.
And the Commission staff calls David Hoppeck to the stand, please.
Mr. Hoppeck, if you're comfortable, you could remain at the table.
Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly affirm under the penalty of perjury that the statements made in this matter today are the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
State your full name.
David C. Hoppock,
Spell your last.
Hoppock.
Give me your business address.
6 St. Paul Street, Baltimore, Maryland, 21202.
Thank you very much. Your witness.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Hoppeck.
Good afternoon.
Do you have in front of you a document captioned in case numbers 9056 and 9064 entitled The Commission Staff's Report on the Standard Offer Service Bidding Process and Results for 2019 through 2020 and dated with today's date?
I do.
Did you prepare this document or was it prepared under your direct supervision?
I did.
Does the document consist of 15 pages of information presented both in text and table form?
It does.
Do you have any additions, deletions, or other corrections you would like to make at this time?
Yes, I do. So first on page 4, the third bullet, where it currently says 2018-19 total, that should read 2019-20 total. Basically the same correction on page 5, the third bullet. Again, it says 2018/2019 total. It should read 2019/2020 total. And then on page 6, again, the third bullet, it currently reads 2018/2019 total. It should read 2019/2020 total. And then finally, on page 12, in the table, the 5th column header, it currently reads supply rate change 2018 spring to 2018 summer. It should read supply rate change 2018 fall to winter.
Okay. And with those changes, do you adopt this this document as part of your sworn testimony in this proceeding?
I do.
Mr. Chairman, staff requests that the Commission staff report be marked as staff exhibit number 2.
Mr. Hoppeck's staff report is so marked.
Staff further moves that it be admitted into the evidentiary record.
Seeing no objection, staff exhibit number 2 is moved into evidence.
Mr. Hoppeck, can you give us a brief summary of this report, please?
Certainly. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. This report covers projected bill impact for the residential Type 1 and Type 2 SOS classes resulting from the October 22nd, 2018 bid. I'm going to go through the residential bill impacts, followed by the Type 1 bill impacts, and finally the Type 2 bill impacts. And for each standard offer service rate class, I will go through the results for each utility individually. Please turn to page 1 for a high-level summary for the residential classes. Please note that these are interim results for SOS rates for the residential class for the period of June 2019 through May 2020. An additional round of residential bidding will occur in April of 2019 to finalize the 2019-2020 rates. Just below that, there is a summary across the 4 investor-owned utilities of the residential bill impact. It's fairly uniform with a decrease across all utilities. So please turn to page 3 to go through the results for Potomac Edison. And the comparison we are making here is for an average residential bill on an annual basis from the period for June 2018 through May 2019 to June 2019 through May 2020. So the average annual bill decrease for Potomac Edison residential customers will be 6%. In terms of a dollar amount, this is approximately a $94 decrease in the projected bills over a year, and the standard offer service power supply rate is projected will decrease, approximately 11%. The table below provides results for an average customer with electric heat and an average customer who does not have use electric heat, and then across both customer types. So the average customer across both types in the current period has an estimated annual bill of $1,500 and $1,560, and this is projected to decrease to approximately $1,466. Please turn to page 4 for Potomac Electric Power Company, otherwise known as PEPCO. And again, we're comparing average residential bills from June 2018 through May 2019 to a projection of those bills from June 2019 through May 2020. And residential includes residential time of use customers as well. Again, there's a breakout for standard residential customers who use electric heat, standard residential customers who do not use electric heat, and then time of use customers with electric heat, and then time of use customers who do not utilize electric heat. Across all types of customers, the average bill is projected to decrease approximately 4.9%. This translates into approximately a $79 increase over a year-long period, and the standard offer service power supply portion of the bill is projected to decrease approximately 9.3%. The total projected bill for the current period is approximately $1,627, and that is projected to decrease to approximately $1,548. Turning next to Delmarva Power and Light on page 5. Again, the residential includes time of use residential customers. The total annual bill on average is projected to decrease about 3.1%. This translates to about a $54 decrease over a year. And the standard offer service supply rate is projected to decrease about 6.7%. So the current average annual bill is about $1,724, and this is projected to decrease to approximately $1,671. Finally, for residential, please turn to page 6 for Baltimore Gas and Electric. Again, we are including time of use customers. The average bill is projected to decrease about 6.2%. This in sum is about $98 over a year, and the standard offer service power supply rate decreases approximately 11.6%. So current average bills in the current period are about $1,587, and those are projected to decrease to about $1,489. So that includes the overview of the residential bill impact. Turning next to Type 1 on page 7. Again, the comparison period is for the period from June 2018 through May 2019 to a projection of bill impacts for June 2019 through May 2020. And for Type 1 Pepco. The total average bill decrease is projected to be about 5.4%, with a SOS power supply rate decrease of 10.4% for Delmarva, a average bill decrease of about 2.9%, standard offer service power rate decrease of about 5%, and for BG&E, a bill decrease of about 5.9%, with a standard office service power supply rate decrease of about 11.7%. No value is given for Potomac Edison because their rates are in effect through May 2019. There was no bid for Type 1 Potomac Edison. Turning finally to Type 2 bill impacts, and I am now on page 8. Please keep in mind that the period of comparison is different because of the shorter nature of Type 2. So what we are comparing is the time frame from December 2018 through February 2019 to the same period in the prior year, that is December 2017 through February 2018. Again, we have on page 8 provided a summary of the bill impacts across the 4 investor-owned utilities. You can see there's a uniform, there's an increase across all 4. They're relatively similar. In addition, we provide the change in the SOS rate itself from the current fall period to the forthcoming winter period, and that range of changes increases from 29 to 48%. Please turn to page 11 for Potomac Edison. There are 5 distribution rate classes that fall within Type 2 SOS. The range in projected bill impacts is approximately 6% to 8%, and then the change in just the supply rate from the current fall period to the forthcoming winter period is 29.4%. Please turn next to page 12 for Baltimore Gas and Electric. We have 4 distribution rate classes that fall within Type 2 SOS. The change in annual bills over the 3-month period is projected to be a range of approximately a 4% to 8% increase from a similar period last year. The change in SOS supply rates themselves from fall to winter ranges from about 36 to 39%. Turning to Delmarva Power and Light on page 13. Again, we have 3 distribution rate classes that fall within Type 2 SOS for Delmarva. The range of bill impacts for the 3-month period forthcoming to a year ago is 12% to about an 18% increase. There's a difference in distribution rate changes versus a year ago, so I would simply note that the small general service class saw distribution rates go down slightly, whereas large general service saw rates go up, so that likely explains a large portion of the difference between the 12 and approximately 18% increase between those 2 classes. And then looking at the change in supply rates from the current fall period to the forthcoming winter period, the range of increase is 39 to 48%. And finally, for Potomac Electric Power Company on page 14, we have 2 classes that fall within Type 2 SOS, MGT-LV and MGT-3A. MGT-LV sees a projected bill increase of about 10.5%, whereas MGT-3A sees a projected bill increase of about 5.9%. This is likely because MGT3A saw a distribution rate decrease in the last rate case, whereas MGT-LV saw a slight increase. And then the supply rate change from 2018 fall to the forthcoming winter period is about 33%, and an increase in SOS rates. That concludes the summary of my report.
Mr. Hoppig, the Type 2 rates have increased, have increased somewhat significantly since the last year. We're in the percentage-wise, 32, 44. I saw 48. Are there any market conditions to which you might attribute that increase, if you know?
So I'll begin by noting that in the 2017 report that was done last October, we had fairly large increases at that point as well. So I think it's fairly normal to see a sizable jump from fall to winter. So those were on the order of 20-30%, although not quite as high. It's my understanding that this may be a result of the fact that there was a quite cold month or period of time during last year's winter period that raised energy prices pretty significantly, and then there may be an assumption that that might occur again, and that is showing up in the bids. But that's an educated guess.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Hoppig, I noted in your analysis of the residential rates that the time of use rates, the average customer in those classifications have significantly higher usage numbers and significantly higher annual bill numbers. You can't say you have to answer yes or no for a recorder.
Correct.
Correct. Aye. So that's not because the bill's not higher in that class, time of use rates, because their average rates are higher than SOS, is it?
I don't believe so.
Is it because their volumetric usage is that much higher?
Yes. So I did. I noted that you asked this question previously, so I attempted to quickly look up these values. So, for example, Baltimore Gas and Electric, I'm on page 6. So the assumed usage for standard rate customers is approximately 12,000 kilowatt hours in a year, whereas time of use rate is about 19,000. So on the order of 40-50% higher. And for example, for Pepco, the average standard customer who uses electric heat, the assumed consumption is 11,556 kilowatt hours in a year, whereas the time of use average consumption is 20,169 kilowatt hours in a year.
So I guess it would be inappropriate for me to assume that the time of use rate classifications are self-selecting that because they're looking for every way possible to reduce their bills, and they may be more attentive to their bills than the standard offer service standard rate customers.
So the consumption on average is certainly higher, and thus their bills are certainly higher. So I think it's quite plausible that they would pay more attention to their rates because of that.
Have we ever looked, if you don't, it's okay. Have we ever looked to see who the time of use rate customers actually are? Who are they?
Beyond the fact that their consumption is higher, we have not, to my recollection.
Very good. Thank you. I appreciate it, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Hoppig. These hearings are important to allow the Commission to exercise proper oversight of the standard offer service bidding to ensure that they are the result of competitive outcomes. So we appreciate your analysis, and Dr. Letzelter, yours as well. Seeing no other questions, unless Mr. Spivak, do you have anything further?
Staff has nothing further, Mr. Chairman.
With that, this hearing is adjourned.